Hello and welcome back to the channel, and firstly thank you for the great response in the last video. I was not expecting to get anywhere near the views it did, so hopefully that continues. So I thought only natural to bring you another XI. We're playing West Ham obviously in a few weeks because of the international break. Thought I'd get in early and get a West Ham one in. Realised very quickly that it's going to be near impossible to pull a full 11 out, but let's just jump into what I did find off the top of my head, and then through digging and see kind of what weird XI we can pull out of this. So we're starting off of the players that I could only think about on the toilet, because that's the only time I get to myself these days. Goalkeeper, decent. Decent! It's the only embarrassing word to say about him. Joe Hart, brilliant for City. Okay for West Ham. I think, if I'm right in thinking, he's not having the best time at Celtic right now, but for City anyway, definitely his best years, and some years I really cherish if he didn't do that every day I'm shuffling and decent clip that haunts me still. Every day I'm Zabaleta, similar in terms of quality of player for City, less so embarrassment. I think Zabaleta had a much more respectable career. Very good for West Ham as well. I think West Ham fans really enjoyed his time there because he was just a great player. You know, as much as he didn't really shine in terms of like, you know, kind of looks on the ball. He wasn't very technical. He wasn't very kind of flary, and he didn't really attack with much kind of pizzazz. You know, you got Kyle Walker now. He's flying about. Yes, sometimes, I will say sometimes, because there are some times where he looks absolutely pants, but there are some times with Walker that you get the flair, you get the kind of wow moment. Zabaleta, not just pure no nonsense football, was one of the best defenders, was a good defender within the league anyway. One of the better defenders in the league at a point in time. I remember Hazard saying he's one of the toughest opponents he ever faced, and this is Hazard, like one of the best wingers in Premier League history. So yeah, had to be a shoe-in. This is going to be wild. We're just pulling players out of everywhere and we're going all over the pitch. So there's no organisation to what I've actually pulled out. Samir Nasri is our next one. Great player for Arsenal, great player for City, pants for West Ham. I can imagine that they really do not value Samir Nasri as a player. I don't know if it was before or after the old, you know, Twitter debacle, or X debacle, should I say. Works in two ways now. Carlos Tevez obviously had his time at West Ham before Manchester United, controversially of course. Was a brilliant player for them, was a brilliant player for United, was a brilliant player for us, was brilliant wherever he went. Absolute nut job. Like, those players don't come around often, where they're just pure drama no matter what. The whole, you know, pissing off within the league, coming back, winning it, was phenomenal when he played. Like, you'd expect nowadays if somebody pissed off during a title challenge and came back into a squad, you'd boo him to high hell, but we didn't. We loved him, still love him. You know, didn't go to World Cup, wasn't it, because of like Disneyland. He wanted to go to Disneyland. I just love him. Just we're not going to get many players like him again. A clever one, this from me, a little bit cheeky, you might say. Frank Lampard, obviously tail end of his career. Started off at West Ham, brilliant career at Chelsea, and you know, obviously took it to the next level at City. Was a City legend. Will always be a City legend. Bellamy on the left wing, another nut job. A very crazy player who I don't know if he's still working with company, but just that partnership, I don't know how it works. I just don't know how it works, but it works because Burnley were fantastic last season. But yeah, Bellamy played for so many clubs, and it's one of them ones where I think back and I think, right, I know this player played for City, and then I try and think of them in a claret and blue kit, so I get quite confused with like kind of the Aston Villas and the Burnleys of this world. So Bellamy definitely was a claret blue kit, easy pick out for me. And this one was another, like, I could picture him in the kit, but I wasn't too sure. But Stuart Pearce in centre back. I'm not gonna lie, I did Google to clarify this. I don't know if it's cheating. Let me know if that is cheating in the comments. Yeah, let's just say his time at City was bizarre. I think that's a nice way of putting it. Like, I loved it. Like, the only thing I can remember is him giving Micah Richards his debut and bringing on David James as a striker. More on him later. So yeah, that's the half XI that I managed to pull out of my brain. You've really racked it on this one. So moving on to the players that I had to hunt online for, and please, if it's out there, if there's a database that I'm missing of players who have played with, I know when you go on Crossover Grid and Tic-Tac-Toe, they have their databases of players who have played for this club and that club. For the life of me, I can't find it. I do not know where they're getting their information from, and I really, really want that information. It would make my life a lot easier doing these. But this is what I've managed to pull out of kind of digging around articles and kind of floating around the internet. And the first player is none other than Waine Bridge, the man who is dating an sounds dodgy, S Club Junior turned Saturday. I'm going to make sure I said the Saturday part. The lady who's not a junior, was a junior in the early 2000s, but is not a junior anymore. She's a very respectable lady. But anyway, he actually went on loan to West Ham from City. So I feel a bit silly missing out on this one. So yeah, Waine Bridge, welcome to the team. Next up, we got Tal Ben Haim, a player that is probably very forgettable in terms of these two clubs. When you think about him, you think more Chelsea, more Portsmouth. As you can see here, 9 games for Man City in a takeover year, and 8 games for West Ham. So, I think I'm allowed to forget that one. But as it stands, he's in the team. So welcome, Ben Haim. The next player on our list is somebody who I definitely should have remembered. When I'm thinking about Craig Bellamy, someone who's played for just an absurd amount of clubs, this man should have come into my thinking. No, it's not Nicolas Anelka. It's David James, yes. Does he topple Joe Hart? Now, I genuinely was toing and froing with this, because peak Joe Hart was great, but peak David James, I don't really remember. I was way too young for. But I just feel like you can't have the longevity he had without being phenomenal at some stage. And the fact he came on as a striker for us. So I'm going to have him in the squad just in case like Tevez, goes to play golf. We've got ourselves a striker. Stuart Pearce can manage him. So Tevez leaves, Stuart Pearce tells him to go up top. Perfect. It's set. Sorry, Joe Hart. You may be decent, but you're not decent enough. Now, a player known for very sad reasons, of course, Mark vivien-foe. I don't really have much to say on him in terms of, I wasn't really paying much attention to West Ham at the time when he played, but he did play, so definitely a shoe-in for our centre defensive mid-role. Another player who moved directly from one to the other, so I probably should have, noted him down or had him in my brain. A player that when I was younger thought it was very funny to say Paolo One Choppy. Paolo One Chop, backup striker probably to Tevez, or maybe we can move Tevez on the right and have Paolo up top, because obviously we're doing a 4-3-3, but this would have been at a time where everything was 4-4-2. But, it's all hypothetical, it's all fun. And now we have a battle for the left wing position with Trevor Sinclair. Don't really remember him much at West Ham, where he played a lot more. I just didn't pay attention, I was way too young. But I know that Bellamy was just, a firecracker. It's an awful phrase to use, but I know that Bellamy had that pizzazz, that bit of danger about him that I really enjoyed. And for that reason, I'd probably go for Bellamy over Sinclair. But any older people, please let me know if Trevor Sinclair was way better than I'm remembering. And I'm a fool for not having him in my team. Next up, we've got a player that I only found out about by doing the research for this. Steve Lomas. I'm not really too sure how you pronounce it. Once again, straight, West Ham to City or City to West Ham, direct move between the two. Played a lot for both, to be fair. But I have zero recollection of him. It's a bloke that, once again, I've heard about for the first time today. Eyal Berkovic. Another Israeli. So we could have 2 Israelis in this team. It's really mad. I'm guaranteed he played with Ben Haim for Israel. The final player that I could find, and let's be honest, he's not getting in the team, but I just had to mention him anyway. Ian Bishop, a player that probably West Ham fans know. I definitely didn't. A player that went from Manchester City to West Ham, back to Manchester City. It was a big chunk of time between the two, to be fair. 255 Premier League games, or top flight games for West Ham between 89 and 98. You can understand why I forgot him, or did not know about him in the slightest, but Jesus, that's a lot of games. So our file team as it stands is Joe Hart, missing out to David James in goal. We've got Waine Bridge at left back. We've got two centre backs being Stuart Pearce and Ben Haim. We've got Zabaleta right back. We've got Mark vivien-foe in the holding midfield role. We've got Frank Lampard and Samir Nasri in front of him. Then we've got a front three of Bellamy, Paulo Wanchope up top, and Carlos Tevez on the right wing. Probably coming in as a secondary striker. But what a weird team. You've got, Premier League winners and relegation players. It's all very weird. It was very difficult to find, to be fair. And if I have missed anyone, as always, please let me know, because, I do not know a database. I'm just digging, and I'm digging hard. It's a very hot day. I'm just realised I've left the fan on throughout this entirety. I was meant to turn it off, so I'm a bit annoyed with myself currently. But if you did like this video, please do like it. If you like Man City ramblings, football kind of games, quizzes, all that kind of good stuff, hit the subscribe button. And as I said before, if you know any databases, I missed out on any players, or if you think Trevor Sinclair is better than Craig Bellamy, very weird comparison, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you on the next one.